This video is going to discuss the VA loan. So obviously, Nick, first and foremost, with Nick Pakulla, my recommended lender. First and foremost with VA, you got to be a veteran, right? If you're not a veteran, you don't get this.
Correct. Or reserves, National Guard as well. But
okay.
Yeah.
Some type of military branch.
Yes.
Joe down the street that works at the flower
Right.
shop can't get this
Correct.
loan. Okay. My understanding is that the biggest benefit of VA is that you can essentially purchase a home with no money down.
Yep.
Right? All right.
Exactly.
How do I do that? Explain how I do that as a veteran.
So for VA, the big thing ultimately first is you want to get your certificate of eligibility, and you can do that through the benefits portal online. Your lender can help point you in the right direction. And VA goes back and forth whether they prefer the veteran to get it or the bank to get it. So sometimes the bank can get it on your behalf as well.
And I'm assuming that's easy to figure out pretty quickly,
Yep.
right?
Yeah, most of the time it comes through within a minute after submitting it. Sometimes they need to check something, and I've had some take a couple of years ago up to 10 days to get something straightened out. Typically for VA, if you've owned a home before, sometimes it takes a little bit. If your previous loan wasn't fully updated with VA, they want to make sure that that loan's been paid off as well. So you get your certificate of eligibility for a VA loan. That's really the main entry requirement to get the VA loan. It's what your lender wants to see to verify that you're eligible. And then the main benefit, VA is a great program, is the down payment requirements. You can put zero down up to the county loan limit, which is different in every county across the country. Your lender can look that up for you. But for first-time home buyers, for regular military, your down payment, you could do zero down, and then it has a funding fee, and that's effectively what you would call it mortgage insurance, but that's the fee that goes directly to the VA to cover costs and losses and things like that. But for first-time home buyers, the funding fee is lowered to 2.15% if you put zero down. For repeat buyers, if you put zero down, it goes up to 3.3%. And then you can put money down, and it lowers the funding fee. You can put 5% down, it goes to 1.5%, and 10% down, it goes to 1.25. So the funding fee can get rolled into your loan. So you're putting zero down. The funding fee is something that gets rolled into your loan at closing, typically, and that basically allows you to purchase a home with zero down. And then also with that, there's zero mortgage insurance. So you just have that one-time funding fee that you pay at closing, and then every month you're just paying principal interest and then your property taxes and home insurance. There's no mortgage insurance monthly with VA, which makes it.
Does the rate differ because of that?
Absolutely. No.
So the rate is there a specific rate for VA, or is it the same thing across the board with your conventionals, your FHAs, whatever's out there?
Generally, VA rates it depends on how the bank does it. Generally, VA rates are very close to FHA rates, which are generally better, a little bit better.
So we'll call the rate competitive with everything else that's out there.
Correct.
It's not different just because I'm doing a VA and I'm able to do it with no money down.
Competitive, usually a little bit better for
VA. All loans that are out there come with fees. There are fees to go to closing. There are fees to go to settlement. With VA, I'm able to ask the seller for closing cost help that will cover everything.
Correct.
So can I take that VA funding fee, and can I make that part of my closing costs? Can I get the seller to pay that?
You could.
All right.
You could do that. You'd be looking, if you want your closing costs plus the funding fee, closing costs in this area 3.5-ish.
Sure.
Plus funding fee 3.3. That would generally be excessive.
It's a lot of money that you're asking for.
Sure. So most of the time, pretty much everyone rolls in the funding fee.
Okay.
Most of the time, but you could in theory do that. And the other caveat with VA loans is that you can actually use some of the seller credit to pay off debt, whereas in a conventional or an FHA loan, if you're getting too much seller credit, you're kind of scrambling last minute to change things or adjust your prepaid items for HOA dues, whereas in VA you have the ability to just apply that towards, say, a revolving credit line. They do have limits on that, but in theory you could ask for the maximum amount of seller credit in VA and generally use it all, and not be fearful. So in VA you still have to do an earnest deposit check. So
I was going to actually talk about that. There are still some things that you have to pay, that money's going to come out of your bank account.
But in theory, if, let's say you gave $1,000 earnest deposit check, you could literally get $1,000 back at closing if you structured the financing.
Sure. And if we have a little bit of extra closing cost help, we can pay for our inspections,
correct,
all that stuff. Right. So you really truly can go buy a home and literally at the end have been refunded any of the money that you put out in order to get to settlement. Therefore, you really are you're buying it with zero money down.
Exactly. And great loan program, zero mortgage insurance every month, which is
competitive rates, no mortgage insurance. Correct. So your loan is the same as everybody else that's out there. Now, the one thing that I hear in this is that I'm buying a $100,000 home. There's a funding fee of 2.something%.
Right.
So my loan is actually $102,000. Yes. It's not $100,000.
Correct.
Right. So I am paying on a little bit more than I actually bought the home for.
Yes.
But it's very, very minimal at the end of the day.
In the grand scheme of things, compared to conventional or FHA, usually VA would win out. Now, if you're going to do 20% down, that's when you want to talk with your lender and run the numbers. Hey, should we do conventional in this case, or should we use VA? And that's the question that you'd have to specifically run the numbers.
So the other question, and we're getting a little bit long on VA, but I think this is an important question. Can I do a VA loan? So I got my first home. I have my VA loan. I'm going to rent this one out. It's a great property. I'm going to rent it out. Can I buy a second home with VA?
Right.
When I've used VA on that first one.
Correct. So technically you can. With VA, the only problem you run into is, depending on how much eligibility you use on your first loan, you may or may not have enough to put down zero on the second home. And that's a calculation that your lender would have to run. But yes, you can have more than one VA loan at a time. You just have to make sure you have enough eligibility left. And it's based on the county that you're buying in. I can give you an example if that's helpful. Or
I think that people understand if you're a veteran, you understand what your eligibility is, right?
Yeah,
I don't necessarily understand that, but I'm assuming
it's on the certificate.
If I'm a veteran, I understand.
It'll come across on that certificate.
Last question I have: are there still requirements? So it's not just that I'm a veteran and now all of a sudden you're going to give me a loan. I still have to have credit requirements.
Absolutely,
I still have to have income requirements.
Yes.
And part of, like, I know a lot of people around here get, and I can't remember what it's called. You'll know as soon as I say it, but they get money for housing through their paychecks on a daily basis or on a weekly basis or whatever it is. That all is encompassing as to how much money I'm making.
Yeah, right? active duty. They would have breakdowns of BAH, basic housing pay, and you can count that all as income.
Awesome.
Awesome.
What are the credit? What's the credit requirement? Do you know?
Similar bank to bank. Offhand, some banks have overlays, but I don't. Off the top
Are we still looking at competitive with FHA?
Off the top of my head.
So still looking at
our bank
about
overlay,
the same thing as
our
FHA.
Bank overlay is 620 on everything. So off the top of my head, I believe it's 580 minimum, but I'd have to look that up.
Okay, somewhere around 6.
Yeah,
we should be able to get a VA
correct
loan. All right, perfect. That's VA.